faces, to produce average faces, and had people rate them.
Average faces is more attractive than non-average. However, average is not the most attractive face. The most attractive faces deviate from average in predictable ways. You want to talk about it?
Sure, yes.
Okay. So
I've seen averaged models' faces, and they seem more attractive than averaged faces, and maybe that pertains to this.
But you can take a model, and you can make her drop dead by the following computer manipulations. What you do, if she's a female model, not a male model, if she's a female model, you do the estrogen modifications on her face through computer techniques. So you reduce basically lower face size, chin size, jaw size, those kinds of things that are under estrogen control during puberty and adolescence. And for a male face, you manipulate in the opposite direction. So male faces are more attractive when testosteronized, not estrogenized. And female faces are more attractive when estrogenized. So the female facial models get their job because they're highly estrogenized faces. And
are they neotenous? The female attractive faces, are they more neotenous?
Yeah, they're more neotenous in the sense of a woman who makes her living with her face model, her face is about the size. Lower face is about the same size as a 10, 11-year-old girl. So neoteny in that sense.
So neoteny is the tendency of an organism to evolve towards its childhood morphology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so neotenous averaged females are more attractive.
Yeah.
And so now, is that, just out of curiosity, do you think that the attractiveness of that neoteny is a consequence of the ability of the more childlike face to elicit care from a male?
Yeah, elicit care and interest and, attractiveness. So basically, here's the way we think it works. So the neoteny we're talking about, we could talk about it just as degree of estrogenization of the face. That's what we measure. That is a marker of health in a different sense, hormonal health. So estrogen is fundamentally the fertility and reproductive capability hormone of the female mammal, estrogen. So the more estrogenized she is, the greater her fertility and reproductive capacity is. So that's what we're responding to in the physical attractiveness of a female.
Is there an association between averaged neotenous faces and optimal waist to hip ratio?
Yeah. Well, the estrogenization affects not only the facial features, it affects bones and so forth. So, petite, people talk about petite women as attractive. She's so petite and so forth. What they're talking about is estrogenization of the bones throughout the body, not just the face, but and that includes the waist-hip ratio is really a marker of degree of estrogenization of the female body. Low waist-hip ratio, so a small waist relative to a more expanded hips. The smaller the waist relative to the hips is a marker of estrogenization of the female body. And that again is a marker of female reproductive capacity through the estrogen effect. Yeah.
And that's optimal at about 0.68. Is that research? Yeah,
your underwear models, female underwear models, they're down. They could go as low as 0.66, but 0.68 you can be a model. Yeah.
So what other elements of attractive, okay, so a couple of things here. So the first thing that's really quite interesting is that your work points to, or this entire line of work points to a profound biological basis for the experience of aesthetic attraction, at least in relationship to the perception of other people and of course the perception of ourselves.
Right.
That's a tremendous amount of that's grounded in instinct, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's an instinct that's manifest so early that you see the preference for attractive faces, say measured by averageness, in newborns. Do you see the same preference for testosteronized males and estrogenized females among newborns, or has anyone looked at that?
Yeah, kids and down to very recently born kids have been looked at in terms of their judgment of men's faces too. And they're looking at testosterone features there. You could call it masculinity would be the common, but testosterone technically. And these features that grow under the influence of testosterone during puberty and adolescence in the male. And in the female, they're growing under the influence of estrogen. Basically, estrogen just capping the growth of those facial bones and the other bones too. But testosterone, along with growth hormone, promotes the growth of the same bones in the face and body of the man. And so babies are judging men's faces the same as you and I or a person off the street would. That's what the research shows. Yeah.
This was promoted. There's a book called The Beauty Myth, for example, that purports to claim that conceptions of female beauty are, what would you say, arbitrary social constructions. What do you think about that idea? How powerful is the biological impulse towards aesthetic experience?
It's the reality. The biological research I'm referring to has been so abundant since really starting in the 90s, that what really kicked it off was the stuff we did initially on symmetry. And then researchers got into the hormone markers, beauty markers involving hormonal health. And then most recently, there's been another drive to look at some pigment issues in terms of a beauty marker, a carotenoid pigment in particular. But it's all health. It's all health. And the beauty myth gal, I forgot her name.
Naomi Klein.
Yeah, right. That was just blank ideology, ranting. Yeah, had nothing to do with reality. And then there was enough known about sexual selection processes and animals to cast that idea in doubt. But since then, it's just
right. Well, because you see the preferences that you've been describing, you see analogs of those and variants of them across the entire animal kingdom. And you see the preference in newborns. So it's pretty hard to construct a social constructionist view of the aesthetic experience of attractiveness.